episode 61 of the CROM updates, and today I am finally joined by Adam Bennett. Adam, how you doing this morning?
Not too bad. Yourself?
I'm doing fantastic having you on
Yeah.
finally. Now, here's the story, everybody. When I sat down, it must have been maybe like September, October of 2023 to get
hmm
started on this whole community thing. I made a list of people that I would love to collaborate with on CROM Collected, and the first person on that list was Adam.
Yeah.
So, and you're gonna find out why, because Adam and I go back quite a ways.
Yeah. I think
2000,
2019.
yes,
Yeah.
2019. That's what I going through all my files and everything
hmm
figured out. Um, but I am super excited to have him on board. Of course, it's now 2025, and
hmm
Adam's had things in life that are not comic book related, and he has to take care of them. And as I always state, and it's a big reminder to all of those who are a part of the community, and you, Adam, this is a low to no stress project.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I'm really glad to get you on board. But how you doing?
I'm doing really good now. So it's been
You
fantastic. Yeah.
good. I'm glad to hear. And so you want to get back into comics?
Yes.
And is Crom the first choice?
So far, yes. I can't remember all the ins and outs of how I kind of got led right back to the character, either
Mm,
through stumbling upon. I can't remember if it was stumbling upon a video on YouTube through your channel, or if it
yeah.
was trying to find if there was any new material out there once I was coming back to the comic book
Right.
industry. But
Right.
yeah, then it just kind of um, grabbed me back into it because it's a character that like I was introduced to back in 2019, and I wanted to do just a little something with the character, and then really learn that as much as there's not a lot of material for this character, there is a lot you can do. So, and
Yes.
it's kind of
Yes.
a broad spectrum, public domain. You can do whatever you want, or you can keep it as traditional as you want, and it's going to be just as fun either way. So,
Awesome. Yeah.
yeah.
So the thing was back in, gosh, I started on Crom in 2015. And let me see if I have. I think I should. So the first thing I had released, I had put together the first, the original three from John Guinta and Gardner F. Fox,
hmm
and then kept moving. Excuse me, kept moving through. So I ended up doing my own. And then right there in front of you, Adam, if you want to flip through that, was the combo. That
Yeah.
was my 2018 combo of both the original full color and then my ballpoint pen 4 stories. And I think that that's 2018, and I also have to admit out loud that I was leaving what they call a real job to come back to art, and comic book was part of it, and I really had a stale old mentality and approach that I was working on cracking in half. But one of the things that I was very reluctant about was doing exactly what I'm doing now, which is the podcasting and even being really more active on social media. But
Right.
you had gotten a copy of that 2018, and you did a YouTube review video, and both my wife and I were just bowled over.
Oh
And
yeah.
I thanked you back then, and I just have to say again, thank you for putting yourself out there, because that was a really first step for me to realize, like, wow, the power of just somebody getting on
Yeah.
YouTube, because they bought a comic book and they want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So what was your thinking back then?
Then like I was doing a YouTube channel, just kind of doing anything comic book related, doing some reviews and collecting, and I was trying to get, books or writing submissions and stuff like that, trying to get published and whatever. And I got a couple of those things along the way. But for the main thing is that I was looking up characters that can get utilized, because there's actually another character I started to kind of play with was called the War Eagle. And
Yeah.
I really love that character. And then in that same realm, I was looking at other public domain characters I can kind of look, mess with. And
Right.
I saw Crom along the way. And then I was looking up, well, what's out there for Crom. I came across a video of an omnibus collector way back in the day. And he was a part of this with you at one point, writing a prose story, I think, for another book, if I remember correctly. So then that's when I kind of realized, like, I got to look into this more. And
Mm-hmm.
then I found out about you right through that and got a hold of the book. And then I ended up doing just a short, what was it, 4 to 6 page um, comic based on Crom and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
that one there you got in front of you. That's the first one that I did. Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I was really blown away because at that time, let me. I think I'm doing pretty good on the reference material here. It's quite close. Other than you, and myself, there was also and still John Michael Hellner
Hmm.
for Lucky Comics, and then I might fail this one. But I have a copy somewhere of Christopher Mills's Crom. So there was all of a sudden a lot of activity, and Crom was just one of those characters that people were looking towards in the public domain, which
Hmm.
I hands down. That's how I got this whole thing started. Was a simple Google search. I think 2013. I just wanted to play with a Conan type character.
Yeah.
Typed in public domain sword and sorcery character, wasn't even comic book, and boop comes Crom the Barbarian by Gardner Fox, and then it all rolls down from there.
Yeah.
As things have been moving on, and like you said, it's such a clean slate.
Hmm.
And I just find I was having a conversation with Matt King yesterday, right before we jumped on live with him, Jake and I, for the Turbo Pit Fighter um, video podcast, and you know. I have to say, like, one of the really cool things that I was hoping that would happen and is happening are these short stories that are adding to the story of the character. Like,
Hmm.
not so much even the character. Like, I think one of the counterbalancing reference points is I never liked the name of the sword being Skullcracker, so I use Skullbiter.
Hmm.
And so there's some people who lean more towards the Skullcracker and some people who lean more to the Skullbiter.
Hmm.
But that's all from I guess what they refer to as canon
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
original, because Fox is hammering these stories out probably in like 35 to 50 seconds.
Hmm. Yeah.
And he starts off with, I believe it's Skullcracker at the beginning of Crom the Barbarian, and then it goes to Skull Biter at some point. It's
Yeah.
just, and I love that part about it, and I know people when they come across sword and sorcery that are not as attached as we are, they see it as like silly and just sort of like non realistic. I guess I've had some people like really kind of put the hammer down on sword and sorcery, but that's why I love it, is because of the escapism.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can't deny what you like, so you kind of have to run with
Exactly.
it. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So one of the things I wanted to do with this episode is, now that we have you on board, the whole idea of contributing to the crime anthologies, as well as collaboration on some level with me,
Hmm.
whether it's just getting the book inside. Um, are you in a space right now where you have something Crom related, or are you just like literally just getting the big toe in the water?
Right now, I have a lot of ideas, and I have a full,
Oh, good.
like a grand story that I'd love to do. But obviously, this is kind of uh, the initiation of doing something bigger. So it's kind of like just baby
Yeah,
steps. But
yeah,
what I'd like to do, as what I've done before, is literally just restart my by that initial um, short comic I did. It's a part of something much larger. Like I already did a full comic of that back in what was it, 20, maybe it was 2022, 2023. I can't remember. But
uh-huh.
it was a very, very rushed project that I was, it's a part of what I was going through before and why a lot of things kind of fell flat for so long. But I'd like to start from the beginning and try to do it right. Like the best that I can with the time that I have, and not rush things like I used to.
Good,
Yeah.
good. Because that's exactly what I really expect from people.
Hmm.
Um, because the thing about your work is it's very identifiable for me as somebody who has such a huge heart and passion for something
Hmm.
created, and they creatively want to enter that place, but you have no, let's say, formal art training, maybe
No.
outside of high school, or what I mean. and
Yeah.
and I just think of that as your being is like, pure to yourself, because you don't have anything standing in the way of, I always refer to it as professionalism or
Hmm.
commercialism,
Yeah.
which I do. I have, that's one of the things that I'm trying to reverse engineer my way out of. But the thing you do have is, a huge amount of resources around you. Now,
Hmm.
being a part of the community, you're going to have access to that as well. But it's the secret is exactly what you're saying, Adam, is that you're going to take your time. You're going to go back to material that you had previously, let's say, started. There's a famous saying that, no artwork is completed or finished; it's just abandoned.
Hmm.
So just returning to it, and that's what I did when it came to, getting this project all, up and going. Was I took my original ballpoint pen pages from the original uh, this comic, and started applying what it is that I'm working on now, which is this value and tonal
Hmm.
process and making. So I love hearing that, and we'll offer whatever I can in the way of support, feedback, and going on from there. But if you want to share on your screen, because I know you do have, I could not find, I don't believe I had anything printed from you. Like did you had produced anything printed? Like what's,
Yeah. So basically, I don't have anything like online or available like before. I did for a short
uh,
period of time for certain things, but I've
yeah,
removed everything and wanted to start over because kind of like each step was something I wasn't happy with. Like it was something
uh,
that I'd rather just kind of start over. So
uh,
like even
oh, I
um
remember this.
yeah, so like back in 2019 I
Uh,
was doing my Finley book, and that's where I kind of put the short CROM story in.
right.
Um so this is that one there.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And this was just kind of, it was sold and printed on Lulu for a short time. But this just kind of introduces the character. It was basically just to kind of give a taste to the character and him fighting a big old snake.
Yeah, right.
Because I love snakes and I love being able to. Drawing them can be difficult depending on how you want them to look with their scales and stuff. So, and I was kind of.
Right.
This is
Right.
me playing around with a lot of lines on everything. So
Yeah.
the trees just covered in them, and it's just a simple short story, kind of fill in the back of the book. But yeah, for my first time, I thought it was fine, and
So
eventually,
what is what
yeah,
is it? Let's just go back to this. Let's just stay on this story.
yeah.
What is it that let's just use the word disappoints you in how far you could at that time when you were making that work came about.
I think for the most part, it it's more like uh, I don't know how to word it, but basically between self worth and value in your work, and just almost you don't want people to see what you've done before, that kind of deal.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
more of like a personal problem than it would be an actual. It's not like an actual problem. It's just for the individual.
Exactly.
So it's a
Exactly.
tough
Exactly.
one to kind of
Is it just because it's your first attempt?
maybe, and like a lot of it has to do with, like, I know every time I'm gonna do something, I'm probably gonna be able to do something a bit better or a bit
Oh,
different or
all of
whatever, right?
us. Oh, all of us, myself
Yeah,
included.
yeah,
That's the excitement. Actually, I think that is the most exciting thing of why somebody would want to get involved in being creative.
yeah,
Specifically with a comic book, making process.
yeah,
You'll never figure it all out, and I
yeah,
think that's
and
just the joy of it.
yeah, and that's kind of the part of being able to come back is just with a much better realization of kind of being in the public eye and stuff. Where, like,
Yeah,
as much as I used to have like a YouTube channel with a bunch of videos and reviews and my
yeah,
opinions on things or whatever, a lot, like, I deleted everything. Like, I got rid of
right,
everything. Like, I
yeah,
didn't want to be a part of it anymore, and that was a
okay,
me thing. So,
yeah. That
but I
was
think,
just like a part of also what you were going through
yeah, yeah,
personally.
yeah,
So and there's a couple people who are in the community right now that are in that same sense of space and transition, or things have come upon them and it was unexpected, and now they've got to make different decisions, and yeah, your art gets caught up in it, and you could, if you're being critical of yourself in your situation personally, and your art's hanging around, it can also take some blows
yeah,
from there.
absolutely.
But I just really want to say that I having you come back to reconnect and me jumping back on this PDF file, I cannot express enough in my joy of seeing somebody honestly be committed to making a comic book as
Hmm.
this is. We could sit down if you wanted to in the next video, and I could give you, let's say, some professional points, in helping restructure. But it might also be you not wanting to do that because you really want to keep searching.
Yeah, because like one thing that I had before, like, this is the second attempt at doing a CROM project, and like, this is just another step forward from that, because I think I did this in 2022, but then I only had it published for a very short period of time, and then that's kind of when everything stopped. But this one here, I went with much heavier inks instead of a bunch of lines,
Yeah.
right?
That's like the first thing I would say about this is get some heavier
Yeah,
spotting blacks in. Oh
And
wow! So you made that move.
yeah,
Nice.
and then this is my first attempt at doing hand lettering, which, it is what it
Oh,
is.
I
But
love
I'm
it.
like, you know
Can you
what?
can you hold? Can you bring it up? Bring it up to the camera.
Yeah, I'm like, for the process, I just want to
Oh
do it.
wow!
No
Fantastic.
matter how it looks, I'm just going to do it.
Good. Well, that's the second thing I was going to bring up. So it looks like the second video is not going to be about.
Yeah,
You've already made it two suggestions. I have.
yeah.
Oh
So
my
then
gosh.
this stretches out the snake fight before he ends up meeting the woman at the water. So, and then this is
Oh my gosh. Why
right.
I don't know if I don't know if I ever saw this.
Yeah, I might have. I don't know if I sent it to you or not, but
I don't have a copy. I know I don't have a physical copy. You might have sent. You
yeah,
don't have anything in your folder either.
yeah. This is the only
So,
physical copy that exists.
oh, for crying out loud.
Yeah. So
Well, we're gonna have to amend that, sir.
yeah. So I'm like, I can tell you right now, like, there's a lot of things I wish I could do differently or better or whatever. But there's
You
a
can.
double page spread that I had in here that I was really happy about because it turned out good with the printing.
Right.
I'm just trying to find it because like there's a lot of things with kind of the weird
Oh,
like of him.
wow. No, I have definitely not seen this.
Yeah,
I would have
basically
been
this is kind of
completely
what I'm trying
taken by
to.
that.
Here we go, double page spread of the big serpent and
Oh my
woman in there.
gosh,
Yeah.
Adam. Oh man.
So it's basically like in
Now,
a temple.
did you walk away like a short while after producing this?
Very short, within two
Okay.
months after this.
Oh wow. Okay. Then
Yeah,
it all makes. Oh my god. Look at
yeah,
that. Let me see that portrait again in Crown. Oh my gosh.
yeah. This
So
is
the one thing, like you're, oh yeah, hold that up. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show everybody. So there's a couple of videos with Jim Gullett and I, and Jim, in my opinion, renders the best crumb, and it's in the eyes, and you're doing the same thing. So there might be two of you out there, like you can kind of see. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But the thing that Jim has over yours right now is Crom's always angry.
yeah,
Jim, and I love that. I just because I don't see when Crom gets in my world, in my Crom world,
yeah,
when Crom gets out beyond the safety of the jungle and his sister, he gets really like frustrated and angry, and he
yeah,
becomes a brutal person, which will lead obviously into the way he navigates inside these original stories, which he's pretty much your atypical narcissistic, much misogynistic
yeah,
barbarian that we
yeah.
all come to love and hate, maybe for some.
And
But that is just great.
so yeah, there's a couple things within the original pages that um, they're just small, but they really stuck out to me um, during the first reads. Now, let's see. There's two images in particular. Okay, so this one here, challenging the the ape people. I can't remember what they're called. While he's still
Simmery.
stuck with an arrow,
Yeah.
like he's still got wounds, he's still got everything still stuck in him, and he's just as dangerous as ever. It's as if nothing's touched him. And then in the further comic here, there's one image that really stuck out. Little one. He's scaling the wall with
Yeah.
sword and guy over his shoulder.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so this guy's pure beast, pure man. And when you think of, okay, well, what would Crom do in this scenario? Just think of this, you know,
Yeah.
fully
Perfect.
capable and
Yeah.
able bodied.
That Jack That Jack Cat, man. Jack
Yep.
Cat's, he was something else.
But yeah, I got a grand story that leads from why this story exists with the temple and the serpent and the women and whatnot, the reptilians. So,
Cool.
but yeah.
Cool. So, I'm going to ask a question,
Hmm.
and it's completely up to you. I have some ideas I'd like to play out, but I also don't want you to feel like I'm cornering you in this recording. So
Hmm.
it could be something that we discuss offline, which means we can just bring this episode to a close, short and sweet.
Hmm.
Hi everybody, this is Adam, or I can start giving you some of my ideas in this recording. Which would you like to do?
If you want, we can just continue on and just
Okay.
go through some
Okay.
ideas.
Okay. So the CROM Anthology is going to be something I believe I've already been complimented a couple times because people are getting it as I have these videos. This is an anthology, but it's also a playground, a sandbox, if you will.
Yep.
And the other thing too is it's going to be, there's at least 36 pages that are going to be exactly like this. That
Hmm.
is just promoting um, artists, just people who I find to be essential in keeping this type of creative comic sword and sorcery thing alive. Now, one of
Yeah.
the things that's not in here, but is going to be probably another third of the book, are already completed Crom or Crom centric work that is out in the wild for sale. That I'm trying to get like 7-page teasers. Doesn't have to be the first 7 pages. It's
Hmm.
completely up to the owner of the material, but it's something where this is becoming like a catalog, if you will. Because
Yeah.
one of the things I'm very animate about right now is this whole illusion we have as creatives that it's a one and done process. In other words, I made this comic, on to the next,
Yeah.
and kind of forget about it in a sense that it exists in the wild. But I want it to exist in the wild, that 10 years down the road somebody stops and goes, wow, this as a matter of fact, I could play devil's advocate here, and
Yeah.
they come to
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
come to Adam T. Bennett, Crumb. Wow, wow! And so as they're flipping through, what happens is that they get to a page much like this, and
Yeah.
there's a QR code. And this is where I start getting us creatives really business aligned, that you should have a place. Website would be ultimately the best,
Hmm.
where that's where it's going. You're maintaining and upkeeping a website. Even if you're not active, why not make a couple bucks a month because people are coming through traffic wise?
Hmm.
So this becomes way more like, and my proposal to you is to take already what you have and work it into an Adam Bennett, Crom the Barbarian, Volume One. Lulu is great because you already understand that. That's the same thing I use because you got the drop shipping. You can print it anywhere in the world, basically around $9 international shipping. So we have something there, and of course we can tease the heck out of people in CROM Anthology 1 without stressing you
Hmm.
on trying to get things done.
Hmm.
Where I'm going, are you comfortable with?
I might be. I think I would. Yeah, I think I would. I would probably still like. I can absolutely get. Um, I've created simple free websites before through like
Sure,
Wix.com or whatever, right?
sure,
So that's
sure.
definitely not a problem. Um, but I think like what I'd like, as much as I don't want to just completely forget my the Crom things that I've done before. I'm still
Mm-hmm.
on the fence about it.
Okay.
but I would still like when it comes to the new project idea, um doing like the first, I don't know, maybe like you said, like 7 pages, and just
Hmm.
getting the initial beginning of the story going.
Yes. So what you're really saying is, and I'm gonna is that you're you're thinking along the lines of contributing 7 new pages to
Yeah,
an anthology and build the book from there.
yeah, yeah, I think
Okay,
so. Yeah,
that's also personally perfect. That's absolutely on the consideration. Lots of people are doing that. I'm encouraging it. I'm gonna warn you though.
hmm,
Having seen just these 2 pages and what you flip through, you're gonna get hounded. I am gonna be one of them that they're gonna want to get copies of that book.
yeah, yeah, and it's
but
certainly,
but we, I say it in jest, and there's no rush. Once again, this is a low to no stress. I'm not
yeah,
pinning you down, and next
yeah,
week I got to have a copy. That's not what this is about.
yeah,
But I really want creators to be. Like a double respect. There's a
hmm,
respect in your past that I believe is absolutely necessary. And then there's a respect of your audience and fan base, which we really don't have any control over.
yeah,
So when somebody comes along and you put something out and 2 people want a copy, ta-da, you have a fan base. And then you
yeah,
put
yeah,
something else out and one of those two, if not both of those two, purchase it again, ta-da, you have a super fan base.
yeah,
We always structure success based into the thousands, hundreds of millions of followers towards something. I want to repeat once again, Sword and Sorcery is not only a super niche, but inside indie comic books, it's a micro niche. I mean,
yeah,
it's so minute.
yeah,
There's probably, and I'm not kidding, there's probably internationally, and when I say fans, I'm talking about people who are willing to put cash on the table for work like this. There's probably about 500 people in the world.
hmm,
And so I'm totally cool with that. I want to organize through the Crommunity, cromthebarbarian.com, those 500 people. That's the
yeah,
goal.
yeah,
That's why the website and the community exists, is because slowly people are coming by. Exactly like you said in the beginning, like, oh, I wanted to get back in and got the Google search going and looking for what? Oh, look, there's a chroniclebarbarian.com. Oh, hey, this is Kurt Brugel. I already know it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
That's how it all works. And ultimately, going back to this and the CROM anthologies, people will, I know, will gravitate to certain artists over others. It's just
hmm,
an aesthetic thing. And
yeah,
once
yeah,
again, I know 2 people as artists that are gonna basically email me once this video comes out and says, you got to get him to put that back out in print because I need a copy, because it
yeah,
speaks to them. It speaks
yeah.
to them. So, it's something, once again, want to repeat, under consideration, not trying to pin you down or put you in
Nope.
there, but it is a warning that you have
Yeah,
fans already. You have
yeah,
fans already, Adam.
yeah. And so like, it's definitely not off the table. But I think
Yeah,
like
cool.
I could almost like if I were to set up just the website or whatever, and then have these like free PDFs, like of this kind of past stuff. I think
Mhm.
at that point it would be a lot easier just to go ahead and do that,
Sure,
as an option or whatever.
sure.
Just to lead into all the new stuff that I'd like to do. Because, like, honestly, I have such a, I don't know, I always call it the creative brain because it's always continually having ideas and just, I can't get them out. I can't get them out fast enough to save my life. You know, like it's just there's too much going on. But so
I
what I
know
like to do is
exactly.
really focus on getting this first thing rolling because like I have,
Okay.
you know, my own created characters that I'd like to do in the future that I've tried before, and you know, they I could, you know, if there was enough money in comics, in indie comics, I could make a living pretty quick with all the ideas, but it's very difficult to actually sit down and really get things going, you know, and completing everything. So,
You're not the only one.
oh, I know. It's
and
one of those
and
things.
and once again, just to repeat over and over again, this is where in here it says open call for collaboration. That
Hmm.
collaboration thing does not mean me. It doesn't mean you have to or should work with me in penciling or writing or inking or formatting or whatever it is.
Hmm.
It's already happening. Ron Parsons is working with James Anthony. Um, Drawn Sword reached out to Ron Parsons. Ron Parsons is a writer, so he just scripted and gave the dialogue and narration for Drawn Swords, Crumb. As a matter of fact, it's right here. Crom the Courageous.
Mm,
So
yeah,
this is all what it's about, and having also that assurance. I would hope in um, through the community being able to lean in with somebody and have a collaboration and you know keep the momentum going, which is I think one of the most important things.
yeah.
And I'm an opponent to the one man band,
Hmm.
somebody doing it all themselves. And, that's where having these CROM updates is really what they're about is like,
Hmm.
hey, Adam, what's going on? Well, I'm a little frustrated. Well, what you frustrated on? Da-da-da-da-da. Someone sees a video, and next thing you know, you're getting an email from, hey, I had the same kind of frustration, but and then it comes
Yeah,
together,
yeah.
and it works from there. And the reality is, you have a life, family and relationships, a
Hmm.
job, time you have to be doing other things that are not related to that or even comics, and then you have whatever time that you put off weekly, to be able to sit down and do it, which is just as valuable. So we don't have to
Yeah,
consider ourselves we don't have to consider ourselves full time in order
yeah,
to be highly creative and productive.
yeah. I like to speak to that. A part of why I had left comics for so long and just kind of I stopped a lot of things. Like I had been dealing with kind of the tail end before getting help of about 20 years of poorly managing depression and anxiety.
Yeah.
And this was actually a product of me trying to run away from depression, which is something I
Wow.
found out afterwards because I
Okay.
did this 30-page book in 30 days. Like I just
Wow.
hammered it.
Whoa.
So I did two books. Each one was 30 plus pages and I did them in 30 days each basically. And
Right.
that's everything. That's getting it to
Yeah.
be ready to get purchased, you know, like
Yeah.
everything. So, and then once I kind of hit the wall, I stopped everything, you know. I was trying to figure things out. So, now it's kind of on the real upswing of things, you know,
Yes.
getting help with
Yes.
that. So,
I think I see a lot of individuals coming and going inside creativity, the arts, if you will.
mhm.
That's one of the things that is dominantly keeping them involved is the management of how we feel.
Yeah.
Depression and anxiety are those words that get thrown around. I think to a point where people don't get to hear other people when
Mm-hmm.
they say, you know, I'm experiencing some depression, or I'm experiencing some anxiety, you know, and to go into, you know, a fantastic place for 30 days,
Mm-hmm.
and really work at it, it says a lot. And you know, and then that I'm gonna can I assume that then after that CROM was completed, you know, a month or so later, you started realizing that, hey, you know what, let me reach out and get some help
It
professionally.
actually took up until April of last year. So it took
24.
you know,
Okay.
probably what, a year
A year
after
ago.
this,
Right. Oh wow.
and it
Okay.
it really came to a head where um, I was kind of forced to finally get help, which was good. You know, like I had nowhere to
Good.
go, so I finally
Right.
like, no,
Right.
there's a brick wall, and I cannot
Yeah.
scale this anymore. So it
Good.
was no, it's
Good.
really good. So
Oh, that's fantastic.
yeah, and that's
Wow, what
why
a great.
I'm able to actually come back and it's basically like a rediscovery of my passion for comic books, because it's
Yeah.
comics have been in my blood since I was a little kid. Like when I started wanting to do comic books, it was back in say 2005. You know,
Uh-huh.
I would have been what, 17 at the time, but I this is my first attempt at getting into the comic book world. So this was printed on Lulu back then in 2007. And this is a
Wow.
script. So this is a 200-page
Okay.
script that I wrote with some images and
Oh
stuff, like page for
man.
page, right? I was
Yeah.
very into Sin City, as you see. But this is, you know, my Finley character that kind of helped me go
Oh
through
wow.
some things. Like it's,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh
and
wow.
so it's been a part of me for a very, very long time. Like my idea with this back then was I'm going to get these printed off and I'm going to send them to companies, you know, like
Yeah.
to see if they like my writing or whatever. But obviously, you know,
Right.
I was just a kid. But it's the drive to do this kind of stuff has been around for a very long time for me. So
It's obvious.
yeah, it's but now it's like
Well,
it's rediscovering it, which is nice.
yeah, and that's what I hear in your voice, and
Yeah,
that's super exciting to have you on board. And with that being said, we're coming up on the 45-minute mark, which is what I always try to keep is bite
yeah,
sized on these episodes.
for
But
sure.
you
Yep.
know, are there any burning questions that you have for me, other than you know, when are we going to get together next?
Yeah, definitely. We'll definitely figure out another time to get together.
Good.
Yeah, and then I guess what kind of time frame for submitting? You know, like I know it's
Your time frame.
okay.
So this is once again, I got kind of a tongue lashing from a friend in the industry where I say all the time I'm not a publisher. And the reason I do not want to be seen as a publisher is exactly for the question you're asking.
Yeah.
You're asking me for the permission for you to make a comic within a specific time, which
Hmm.
ultimately is going to lead to a bunch of frustration. You're not going to beat it. Nobody beats a deadline. Okay.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that then the deadline is the first thing you think of, and then the comic book is the second thing you think of.
Hmm. Yeah.
I would rather people wake up every morning and say, I'm going to get 15 minutes on my comic today.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Yeah.
get 5 minutes on my comic today. I'm gonna reread my comic on the bus to work today. When I'm
Hmm.
on lunch, I'm gonna pencil that panel at comic that, and then you're gonna wake up 6 months from now. Not saying that that's the thing,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you're gonna go, holy crap! Look at that!
Hmm.
Wow, I just did that in 5 to 15 minutes every other day, but that I found the time, and of course had those 2 or 3 hour stints where I snuck away from the rest of the world. Because you know, I will run what I call a soft and hard deadline to get people up and out.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the space where they would be, contacting me and saying, "Hey, I'm not going to make it," or "I'll make it, but," or "They made it," and everything's fine. Because now my responsibility is really doing all of my work and then putting everything together, and then getting a draft copy, completed. So to answer your question, the two things you can do, for yourself is, structure. You're definitely going to get an artist double pager, and what it is, it's a large form, a full page image.
Hmm.
And then what I do is I blow up from a high res scan that you'll send me, some segment, and then down here it'll have not guest artist, but it'll actually have artist, you, where you're at, something about
Yep.
you, and a QR code for people to find out more. So you really just need to create, within the next 2 months.
Hmm.
What is this? March, end of March, April.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so by the end of April, if you got a pin up to me,
Oh
CROM
yeah.
related, you're in. So that I don't
Okay.
think I'm going to worry about you on that. The
No.
second thing
No.
is that the reason the CROM updates are here is to check in with one another.
Hmm.
So the as the videos are coming out, you're seeing what everybody else is working on. You're hearing their frustrations. You don't feel alone.
Yeah.
And then what also happens is, I might make announcements, or those types of things. But when we get together next, you'll have already gone a journey in a month or whatever, 2 weeks, whatever it
Yeah.
is, where oh, we're looking at this. Okay, this is really great. Blah 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 blah. And
Yep.
then we work from there. Right now you're already slanted for anthology number 2, which right
Hmm.
now I couldn't tell anybody when that's going to get going, because I got to get number 1 done.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but the mentality, going back to what I had said in first reaction, is there's no there's no deadline to be primary over you enjoying yourself, low to no stress, and making CROM comics, or
Yeah.
even CROM centric comics. In other words,
Yeah.
medieval or sword and sorcery, bizarro kind of escapism and stuff. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Now, if people do want to have a deadline, um, you could send me an email and say, "Kurt, can you contact me a week before this deadline to make me?"
Yeah.
I'll put something in my calendar,
Yeah.
send you an email saying, "Hey, here's your deadline. You got a week to go." We can go
Yeah.
from there. But
Because
is it
everybody,
necessary?
yeah, everybody works differently, right? And you think of, I watched a
Absolutely. I want
documentary
to
about
respect
Frank
that.
Frazetta, right? Frank Frazetta
Yes. Painting
sometimes
with
didn't
fire.
complete the painting or didn't start and do it until like, I don't know,
The night
5 hours
before.
before the deadline, and he had a whole month to
Mm-hmm.
do it, but he just didn't.
Yep.
And he still
Yep.
came out with just the best work you could ever imagine. So everybody's different, yeah.
Exactly, and I want that to be respected in this
Yeah.
project. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not planning on going anywhere. I have my own goals, if you will, but
Yeah.
joys in life that, as an artist, I can see getting well into my retirement and still doing this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so I love the whole anthology thing now. I'm very obsessed with it.
Hmm.
Hopefully in a healthy way. But
Yeah.
I find to take on things in little chunks, 7
Hmm.
pages, 5 to 8 pages, that's way healthier and realistic in accomplishing than I'm gonna write a graphic novel. And no,
Yeah.
you're not. And I mean, there's probably 100. There's probably close to 1,000 graphic novels that were produced in the last 20 years, and there's probably a half 100 million people who've gone through the process of not actually making it. And that's
Yeah.
the thing that kills me, is like, why don't we have 7 pages from you?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
let's and then it's in an anthology somewhere, and you at least can walk around saying, "Yeah, I did a comic, and it's in an anthology." There you
Hmm.
go. I got a copy of it.
Yeah. No, I'm really
So
excited. I'm really excited
good, and
about the whole thing, whole process.
I am so excited that you reached out and
Yeah.
wanted to get back in. Thank you very much,
Oh
because it
yeah.
also
It's
makes me feel like literally a completion in where I was at, starting off and getting certain creatives involved, and so
mhm,
this is really exciting. So other than that, I look forward to the next time we get together. Of course,
absolutely.
cromthebarbarian.com. Kurt at cromthebarbarian.com is where I can be reached at, if you have questions or ideas or so on and so forth. But I look forward to our next time getting together, Adam.
Yes, me too.
Awesome. All right, take care of yourself.
Yeah, you too.